is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
All right, everybody, welcome into Fresh Takes. Russo and Felice. I am Paul Russo. I got Nick Felice next to me as always. It is one of our favorite episodes of the year that we get to do, the MLB Preview Edition 2025.
And I got my jersey for
This
it.
time around. We'll get to that in a second because it's not going to be just baseball. We're gonna start off a little bit with some March Madness. Nick shoehorning in one other topic here as well. So looking forward to that. Thank a couple more of our sponsors as well quickly before we get going, including Lil John and Barbie Orthodontics, Dr. Lil John, Dr. Barbie, and their outstanding orthodontic team share a common goal to ensure the overall wellness of each of their patients through exceptional orthodontic care. You can check them out online at liljohnortho.com. And Cafe 19, breakfast, lunch, pastry, celebratory cakes, pies, and catering guaranteed fresh and always local at Cafe 19 in Seneca Falls. Offering an assortment of beverages, including tea, coffee, and espresso drinks. You can check out their full menu and weekly specials at xixcafe.com. So, Nick, tell the people about the topic you want to talk about.
Yeah, Russell Wilson. Right there. Giants jersey.
Could have sworn there was a Dale Earnhardt jersey.
So my brother's a Seahawks fan, if you remember from the shows. And this is his jersey. Russell Wilson on the Seahawks. But am I happy he's on the Giants? Not really. But, you know, it's a cool jersey. It's my jersey now. And
How much is it your jersey?
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Wait, did you steal it? Did you say, hey, man, can I borrow this really quick?
He doesn't even know I'm wearing this right now.
That's awkward.
And, yeah, I did steal it.
Really awkward.
Some kids like to call it borrowing.
No, you're being a thief.
It's free balloon day, so I'm borrowing it.
Well, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Okay, time's up. But,
All right, time's up.
yeah,
On free balloon day,
we don't need to talk about it. Just got the jersey on. It's
I think you got the better of two evils, though. To be fair,
okay.
if
I
you know,
think
I know you know
The
what
better
I
of
mean,
two
but
evils, yes.
Yeah,
The better quarterback right now on this very day, I don't know.
I still think yes, but
I just think Rodgers.
they're two different types of done at this point.
But they're both done.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Almost tells me that the Giants are going to be doing something with that draft pick then.
Yeah.
Right.
Be interesting if they draft a quarterback now.
It would be funny. Not for you, but like for me.
But with Wilson, and I was okay with Winston. You got Winston,
Yeah.
and then DeVito's agent.
Yeah. And DeVito. But it's all right.
There's a lot going on there right now with the quarterback position.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when you think Dable and Shane, their jobs are on the line this year.
Part of me wonders a little bit, admittedly, maybe you can kind of move off at this point. Part of me wonders, especially with the way a lot of the talk now has been happening around the draft involving these quarterbacks, if the Giants were maybe one of the first ones to kind of sniff out that this draft class isn't exactly,
Other than Cam Ward.
and pun not intended for the sport, but like part of me wonders at this point if they're just going to punt that to next year.
Yeah. And, with Arch Manning as well.
Yeah.
But
Which we don't even know yet, by the way, if he'll come out.
And the sources of the Titans taking Cam Ward have increased.
Yeah.
I think resulting in this Wilson signing.
I think he worked out with the Browns today too, by the way. But
it sounds like either one of them is going to take him.
Yeah.
And that sounds like who the Giants wanted.
Yeah.
And so they're shifting gears.
Which I think you should. I mean, but again, beside the point, someone we'll talk more really about in what? A little under a month, I guess, technically. But March Madness, before we get to baseball here, obviously opening weekend through the books. We got the Sweet 16 Elite 8 on deck this weekend. We kind of alluded to it last week. I'm not surprised we didn't have a ton of upsets in the sense we've been used to the past few years. I talked about on here last week. I don't want to really get into it too deep here just because whatever. Just the numbers and analytics that I use kind of indicated that it was going to be a fairly chalkish weekend. Ended up being the case for the most part. Like I said, it's for the most part, right? I mean, Arkansas obviously upsetting St. John's as a 10 seed to get to the Sweet 16. That one kind of goes back to my issue with seeding, but I thought they kind of got Arkansas right in that spot. Either way, right? I think it was just one of those deals where we kind of got spoiled a lot here recently. And I think a lot of people didn't maybe take into consideration. Once we got beyond New Year's, aka the de facto halfway point of the seasons, because you move out of non-conference and get to your conference slate full time, top 25 kind of stayed the top 25 for the most part. Yeah, there's shifting going on in the rankings, but once you're pretty much at that point in the top 25, you didn't really move out of the top 25 at that point. Just happens from time to time. Nothing wrong with it.
Well, that's because a lot of them are SEC teams too.
Well, but like that, it goes back to my point though of being like every now and then this just is the case, right? I mean, the better teams are just going to be better, and so like I said, we've probably just been spoiled the past few years that we've had a lot of these more dramatic upsets happen, and this year it just didn't happen.
I think college basketball has a March Madness problem.
Ooh, interesting.
College basketball in itself, you're still going to have great games. You're going to have a nice champion. It's going to be a good season. You're going to have good conference races. You're going to have all that. But the love of March Madness is in jeopardy. What we look forward to in March is the big upsets and getting that 15 seed, having a Cinderella run. But with the NIL and the transfer portal, it is hurting and ruining March Madness. And this year is a perfect example of that. And it's almost essentially Major League Baseball, college basketball now, with no salary cap. You can give away NIL as much as you want. And these teams are basically minor league teams now. We've seen it already with the first day of transfer portal. Like 1,200 people have already gone in the portal.
700, but.
And the portal is hurting college basketball. And then the NIL is hurting it because these schools just have so much more money than these other schools, and they're going to offer these guys who are on McNeese, great, nice little run. A lot of them aren't going to be on McNeese. You already lost that coach, and you're losing coaches, you're losing players. These schools, they're just minor league teams to showcase themselves to go to major teams the following season, and these teams just cannot compete with these teams. They have more money.
You can blame NIL, and to a degree, you're not wrong. I'm not going to disagree with that. What I will disagree with is a pretty good amount, though, of what you said. You finally brought up the coaching side of it, which I'm happy about, but you can't act as if it's a player problem when Will Wade already had the NC State job before round one was even done. You can't be telling me that when Sean Miller's already going to Texas because they already fired Rodney Terry. You know what I mean? I understand what you're saying, and I get it. You're talking a lot about, the ramifications of, what to do with the players, but, I always go back to what to do with the coaches because we always complain about the players getting money and everything like that, but there's always enough to do this coaching carousel thing.
There's just no loyalty with these schools anymore. And that's not just the small schools. It's the big schools, too. I mean, heck, Syracuse, other than the two better players, Freeman and Starling, the whole team's gone.
I'm fine with that.
And people are fine with it. But that's not just Syracuse. That's every team. Almost every team. A lot of these kids, they just don't stay with these schools anymore.
Again, I don't necessarily disagree.
And the best kids from those mid-major schools are going to go to bigger schools because they're going to want a better opportunity and more money. They get more NIL.
I mean, I in that end, I don't see a problem with it though.
Yeah, but the problem is we're never going to see these teams win in March Madness anymore. I just feel like
they weren't winning anyway.
The last few years, we had some great upsets. We had St. Peter's in the Elite Eight that one year. We had Princeton in the Sweet 16.
Did they win the last game that actually mattered?
No, but I'm saying the end of the tournament's going to be fine. We're losing the March Madness part of it at the beginning. And I think you're just going to see more chalk as the years go on.
Okay, but so outside of the past, I'll call it decade. I mean, that was never really the case.
March Madness?
You had your case in terms of like teams getting far.
Oh, I'm not saying they're going far.
But like you're
losing the
all I'm saying is
in general.
All I'm saying is you're making it sound as if like a 15 being a 2 is this commonplace thing, but it just hasn't been.
I mean,
statistically speaking,
it's happened a lot more. I just don't think I personally don't know if you're ever going to see it again. I don't know if you'll ever see a 15 or 16 seed win again. I think with today's game, I just don't see. I don't even know if you could see a 13 through a 16 seed ever win again. And that kind of sucks because I always look forward to that, and I judge my bracket off thinking an upset's going to happen. I just don't think these teams can compete anymore.
I think you're lying to yourself to prove a point right now by saying that.
I just don't. I personally don't think these teams can compete anymore. They can't even win games. And I think this year is going to be the start of it.
I go back to this. We'll have to agree to disagree on this front in the grand scheme of it.
The love of March Madness is the big upsets, and I'm worried that we are losing that with the NIL and the transfer portal. And these players, because what makes good mid-major teams is those teams that have 5 seniors. And you just are never going to see that again on a team like McNeese.
McNeese is the wrong team to be using here.
It's a team like that.
Okay, but don't use McNeese, who literally brought in all those kids. They did not Wade did not recruit a single one of them naturally.
All right, a team like Bryant.
You're better off using them.
You're never going to see a team like Bryant have 5 seniors on their team anymore. They're going to transfer. If they are any good, I mean, you just got to get lucky. I just don't know.
I again, just agree to disagree. I think you and you aren't the only one doing it, but it's a broad number of people who are using NIL to
I'm standing by it. I think the NIL and the transfer portal is awful, and I'm just not a fan of it.
It's all right.
I'm sorry. That's my opinion. I just don't like it. I think it's ruined the sport, and I think it's ruined March Madness, and it's disappointed. I don't like chalk.
I don't like chalk either. I just looked at the numbers this year, and I'm just trying to tell people like it's been this way all year. I don't think you should be surprised that these are the outcomes we're seeing in these one-game samples. I just don't. I'm sorry. I understand where you're coming from. I understand where a lot of people are coming from. But if you want to go back to where these deals are happening behind closed doors, then let's just say you want to do it that way, and we can get going again. I'm sorry. Even before we had this NIL and transfer portal, it was happening. You brought up St. Peter's. Doug Eater left St. Peter's to go to freaking Bryant. I'm sorry. This has happened for years, and I just think now we're choosing. I don't know why we're choosing this term and this specific one for this argument when the numbers have been there all year to suggest that this was the most probable outcome of the tournament that was going to happen.
It's because of all the chalk.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. To me, that's just blame yourselves then for not watching a wider net of product. You know? And I'm not expecting me and you, the type of people, to be doing it, but look, I'll say it the way it is. Outside of Jay Billis at ESPN, I don't know anybody over there who's actually watching the games. They had a guy today, an NBA expert, one of their NBA experts today, I saw a clip on Twitter about him freely admitting that he doesn't watch the games. Again. And we expect them to trust whatever analysis they're given? Hell no.
It's just
You know?
it's just my opinion. I love college basketball. I love March Madness, and I hate to see it go down like this. But I don't know. Just overall, when you look at the college football season, you look at the college basketball season, you could say the college football season might have been the best college football season they've had in years. This college basketball season has not been great. With the SEC dominating, it's been boring. Like you said, the top 25 has not changed a lot. This whole season in general has not been great.
I disagree. I think you were specifically watching very much so one component element of it then at that point. If that's the case, so be it. I just
having 14 teams in a 16-team conference is not great. That is stupid.
I just personally am kind of chuckling at you saying that it was a great college football year when the same people who were telling you that it was a bad college football year were telling you it was a good college basketball year, and you think it was a bad college basketball year. So,
I think it was a bad college basketball year.
Okay then.
That's just my opinion. I love this time of year, but it's just, I don't know. This sport we're not on great terms right now. We're not on great terms.
I can tell clearly.
That's just how I feel about it right now. And
I can tell. By the way,
college hockey. I think Minnesota might win it all.
I think Hobart three-peats.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our actual matter here. We're already not quite 20 minutes in, but we ended up chewing a pretty good number out there.
I got my predictions.
You told me off air so that you had them. You didn't tell me what they were. But MLB 2025 is here. Want to start here. It's weird I want to start here because we don't talk about this necessarily preseason wise, but I think given the events that kind of happened last year, I think it's worth noting. Interesting stuff, obviously, that the MLB is going to have to deal with throughout the year this year. Not necessarily for sure here, but we're 2 full seasons, I'm calling it. That includes 2025 away from the next CBA having to be done. Obviously, what the Dodgers did this offseason's got a lot of teams and a lot of players.
So we have 2 more years?
25 and 26. Looking towards the negotiations are going to be pretty rough. And normally in that 2-year window, you start seeing stuff happen. A lot of people are saying prepare for a lockout. Don't want to go that far yet, only because
it's going to happen.
Well, the only reason why I'm saying that is because in other sports, in other times we've gone into lockout scenarios, there's been a lot more talk within the sport about that. We haven't fully gotten there yet with the MLB. But I preface it with this because I think that's going to be a big part. I don't know if that's going to be the major part because there are 2 teams this year who I have on. It's because of what happened last year with the A's that I have on location watch of sorts. One of them is actually the A's again.
And they're just the A's.
Or Athletics or whatever.
They have no cities.
Somebody already called them Oakland a ton in spring training, but either way. The other one's the Rays. Both for different but similar reasons. And I think this is going to cause a lot of bubbling throughout the year in addition to the Dodger stuff. And then you throw in the third element here, which is the media stuff that's going on right now. So we didn't talk about really on the podcast here. MLB divorces ESPN more or less in this media rights deal. I think, is it like opening day pretty much it for ESPN, right? Give or take. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, this is it type deal.
Well, they're still going to have Sunday Night Baseball this year.
I thought they were moving. I thought that was part of the shop.
They're still having it this year.
But either way, right, a key, what many general public people feel is a key part, right, in baseball and their media deal gone. If you look at it numerically, it was a fairly small actual thing. 3 pretty key things here bubbling up already before the season starts. But it's masked, though, by, frankly, the MLB doing a really good job social media-wise marketing this offseason. even leading up right now to opening day tomorrow. I don't think it's like a crossroads year for the MLB, but it's gonna be an interesting one. I don't know if we'll see negotiations happen or what, but from the league side of it, that's a lot on the plate at a very crucial time for the sport. Be interesting to kind of see how it all plays out.
Yeah, so I am excited about tomorrow, obviously. It's MLB opening day. It's one of my favorite sports days of the year. I got a lot of complaints about it. Number one, why is everybody playing at 4 o'clock? I am not a fan of that.
I was wondering where you're going with it, but yeah.
Spread the games out. It's not like we haven't spread the games out before. Why all of a sudden are they all playing at 4 o'clock? And the first games don't even start till 3. And it's called opening day. It's not called opening evening.
No, I was going to say, isn't it like one game at 3 and then there's like...
They're like all at 4.
6 or 7 at 4, and then there's like another like
There's
6
a couple
at
night
like
games.
Yeah, like
the Mariners play at 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a fan of that. Spread them out. Get some more games on TV. It's probably one of the biggest days of the whole year. This isn't the last game of the regular season. There's no playoff scenarios right now. Yes, they mean something, these regular season games. But come on, stop putting them at 4. Spread them out. Then I get it. The Rays are trying to, the Yankee Stadium, minor league stadium, is trying to get ready for the Rays. And the fact that the Rockies-Rays aren't playing tomorrow is another complaint I have. Already on top with the complaint why the Tokyo series is the week before. Why can't the Tokyo series be like Monday and Tuesday this week and then have them come back and finish up the series this weekend? I don't know. They got so many problems with the scheduling. But looking forward to tomorrow. Got some decent pitching matchups. A couple injuries. Got some, star pitchers out tomorrow. But, first one that comes to mind is Spencer Strider.
Fully bearded.
And anybody else on the Mets, because Clay Holmes is starting tomorrow for some wild reason. I think they're just trying to prove that they have the magic to turn him into a starter, even though he was a failed minor league starter for the Pirates. But okay, we'll see what other Mets do there. But yeah,
I think not to be that guy, Nick, but I think we should see if the Mets can actually do it because.
I mean, am I looking forward to seeing Juan Soto on the Mets? No, I don't like the Mets. But as a baseball fan,
those jerseys say otherwise.
The Nationals won. The new City Connect for the Nationals looks pretty.
I'm in the minority.
Really?
I think it's just because I was a big fan of the cherry blossom ones, though.
They retired those.
Which I think is BS. That's just Nike being Nike. But
anyway.
Yeah.
Juan Soto's a Met, making his debut tomorrow. And, I mean, I don't want to get into my predictions right away.
No predictions just yet.
But I'm not high on the Mets.
Interesting.
That rotation scares me.
Yeah,
Even when
even
when they get Montes back, even when they get Manaea back, still not buying the rotation.
No, that's fair.
Do they have a great lineup? Yes, I think they can. Their lineup can argue to compete with the Dodgers lineup. I think it's one of the best lineups in the league.
Oh yeah,
but you got to be able to pitch, and it puts a lot of pressure on Cody Senga.
Just call him Cody.
Kodai.
There you go.
He should be Cody. Hey, Cody.
Oh, boy.
Kodai Senga puts a lot of pressure on him to be the ace. And I don't know. I'm not buying on him. The division's tough. The league's tough. Not high in the Mets. That's how I'm going to start this off. I don't know where we're going. We're going divisions or something?
Well, yeah, I didn't know how that was going to go there. Yeah, I mean, the NL East is interesting because I don't view them as like the warhead type thing that they've been the past couple of years. I don't know if it's because like I'm sick of I'm sick of them just kind of falling short in what we kind of hope is like the Dodger stopper type thing. But you look around, right? The Braves, the Braves window is still open, but I don't know if it's open, right? The Marlins are the Marlins. That might be your Marlins update for the year, if I'm being honest. The Phillies, Phillies are always kind of hinging on how they get out of the gate. You know, if they have to come from behind, I don't know. Obviously, Nola's, not there this year, and
When healthy, who's got a better rotation? Phillies or Braves?
I mean, I feel like I lean Atlanta, but
I agree. The Ronaldo,
they're pretty even though.
they are. Ronaldo Lopez is very underrated though.
Yeah, I just don't understand the love affair with some of the Braves pitching. Just like I don't understand the love affair with some like the Phillies like position
What
players.
kind of second act we get out of Chris Sale this year with the Braves?
Well, and the wild part is for me that's not even like the question mark for them. It's actually, to be fair, Strider's not even. It's your Schwellenbachs where it's like there's a lot of hype around them, and he pitched, what was it, 2/3 of the year last year he was up on the big leagues more or less, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough, right, because you're basing off of rookie stuff, but like, man, he left a lot to be desired for what they were kind of hyping him up to be, Obviously they're minus Max Fried this year, going to the Yankees. I don't know, and to me I think that's where I know what you mean by the Mets, but it's like weird how like I don't disagree about the Mets, especially on the starting pitching front, let alone their bullpen. But like, if you're the Mets, you might have the most consistent part of the division in your offensive lineup. I'll tell you this: I might be doing a buy low or really overestimating. But like, I expect the Nationals to like compete this year. I'm just being honest. They caused enough headaches last year.
Same front office.
I kind of think they have the ability to kind of do what the Royals did 2 years ago now, where it's like, oh, look at them kind of hang out a little bit.
They're
here
kind of like the Pirates. They got all the young kids up.
Yeah. Not to dunk on your Pirates already here, but like the Nationals pitching is considerably better than what the Pirates have.
Yet.
Well, let's jump over to the NL Central then here. Me and you have been in agreement on this for the better part of like 2 months since spring training. I guess not technically 2 months, but whatever. Since pitchers and catchers reported a month and a half ago. We don't understand how this love affair of the Cubs happened for this year.
Yeah. Well, it's because of Tucker.
Look, it's tough, right? They're 0-2. They're already technically 2 games back, right?
I know.
They got 1 game back.
They got to win out to win 160.
But it's tough because, like, right, how can you really gauge one game for Steele and manga and stuff like that?
The one thing,
but like, and me and you are going to say the same thing here probably, but like, they didn't do anything to really improve this offseason on either side of the ball. Like, I don't get where people think they're going to win the division came from.
well, Kyle Tucker.
But one guy's not. Look, I do like Kyle Tucker. But like, I don't view him as much as this improvement as people I think in that sense for them.
Yeah.
They're
in the same boat as the Mets, but they don't have the they don't have the hitting like the Mets do. I mean,
I don't disagree, but like I view the Mets considerably better than the Cubs. I mean,
they're definitely a way better hitting team, but the Cubs got some hitters. It's not like they don't. Ian Happ's an underrated player.
I don't want to be that guy with him. I don't disagree, but like, at what point do we just not? It's kind of like what we had to do with Brandon Marsh essentially, and I don't disagree with it. But like, at what point do we just accept this is just what Ian Happ is? We've been doing this now for like 2.5 years with Ian Happ.
I like Nico Horner,
who's out
right now. Yeah, but when he comes back, is Dansby Swanson a bust?
I don't think of him as a bust, but like that's just a bad.
He's kind of like
it's a bad contract.
He's kind of like Giancarlo Stanton.
Actually, that's a pretty good comp. It's a bad contract for what he is, but it's not like he's like a below average.
The reason I said that is neither one really reached their full potential,
or their full potential is just what they were, and you signed up too long term.
Sure, the Cubs got a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
This whole division does.
But it's different for each team. The only team I don't view as having question marks is the Cardinals. That's just because that's boy.
Hey, at least we were both right about the Cardinals because they were still high on the
Yeah.
Cardinals last year,
Yeah.
and they did not pan out.
They're gonna be worse this year, right?
Yeah.
Their only saving grace, I think, is like the young guys the position playing young guys just won't know any better, as I call it.
And you got Nolan Arenado still on the team somehow.
Yeah, part of it's on his own volition though at this point.
And then obviously my Pirates.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to save them for last just because they were yours, and we can go a little bit more in depth if we wanted to.
And
I know so your beloved Milwaukee Brewers that you love so much.
yes.
I don't know. I guess they're kind of doing something similar to last year. I just don't know if they can get away with it again. You know what I mean?
They got the best associate head coach or associate manager in the game though. Ricky Weeks.
Well, that's a different discussion. I mean,
Are they the only team that has an associate manager? That's like his
I
that's
think
his
it's
title.
I think it's just the way teams say things.
He's
And,
basically a bench coach.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say. I mean, it's no different than what Brad Ausmus is to the Yankees.
Let's see. They do get Brandon Woodruff back at some point this season. They still got Freddie Peralta, who I like. I think he doesn't get enough love as a number one starter.
Yeah, you're right there.
And he could is he a number? I think he is a number one starter, but he would be a great number two starter on some teams.
Yeah,
And
he's probably a 1 for half the league still, I would say.
Pat Murphy's a great manager, and
But
they always seem to get guys in the bullpen that stick,
right.
and they get clutch hitting. And
I just view them as though I don't know if they can get away with it though this year again.
yeah,
That's my thing. And the reason I say that is because I frankly view the Reds as being the best team in the division.
they certainly got the best manager.
Yes. And I think that's a lot of it. I think a guy like Francona, we saw it literally in each of his past 2 stops technically, right? Which is crazy to think that his second stop in this case I'm calling is Boston now 21 years ago. But like, think about each of those teams, Boston, Cleveland, he's gotten the best out of all those young guys at that time. And I know they're dealing a little bit with injury stuff too, but like, you look at like, we still haven't seen what LA's technically peaked at yet and stuff like that.
He can get the most out of these players.
Yeah. Your Pirates, again, for the second year in a row, Nick, I love what they have position-wise. I do think the pitching is better than last year, but nowhere near, I think, where it can be for them, in my mind, that they should be contending. And it just goes back to, there's a couple things I'd like to see different with the Pirates. Because I do have a little bit of, like, rooting interest in the Pirates because of, like, where I went to college and everything and like, with you and everything.
And they
Like,
treated you well when you went there.
it's true. And I just, it's weird to me still that, like, as much as I view Derek Shelton as being a hindrance.
Who?
You know who I'm talking. I just said Derek Shelton.
I don't put that name in my head.
Fine. We're back to Bob Nutting, going back to that freaking Bob Nutting meme that he is of just like, I'm not spending. Like, figure it out.
Rowdy got a team though.
He did make the Mariners.
Here's my thing about the Pirates. Yeah. They got arguably the best pitcher in the league in Paul Skeens.
Not Andrew Haney?
Andrew Haney's second best pitcher in the league. Get that right. We'll see how he does. He is a sophomore, and there's always a sophomore slump. That's still a thing, even when you're a phenom like Paul Skeens. So I'm very intrigued to see how he goes out there his second year when teams start learning about him, and especially against in the division where he dominated most of the year. And you got guys like, thankfully, Jerry Jones will be back this season.
Avoided a pretty big injury.
Yes, that was scary. He should be back around June. We still got Mitch Keller. And we got these guys that I don't want to be in the rotation, but some reasons in the rotation because what do I know?
Not much.
I like, even if Jared Jones went down, we had guys like Bubba Chandler coming up, our top prospect. We have guys like Johan Oviedo getting back, who I like a lot, who's out all last season.
Got a guy that I like.
And you
that we both saw together.
Ashcraft.
Yeah.
And they got the AAA rotation's gonna be pretty good. They're pretty deep starting rotation wise. Bullpen scares me. The fact that we're just letting Bednar go back into the closer role is
Boy, and I'm a Bednar guy.
and I'm rooting for him.
But man, did he have a rough spring too.
Yes, I'm rooting for him. And then you got sketchy ass Holderman.
Don't you be talking smack about Colin.
Hey, we traded Daniel Vogelback for him, and now Vogelback is
Syracuse Met legend Colin Holderman.
Yeah, so
Is he the closer of Bednar if you finally just pull the plug?
He's the 8th inning guy right now. And yes, the bullpen scares me. Hitting wise, I think it's too much hate. I think O'Neal Cruz started figuring it out a little bit last year.
Oh yeah.
We got to remember he was coming off that injury, so Ellie, you like to compare him to Ellie. And Ellie was stealing all those bags. Cruz was fighting trying to recover from his injury, so he wasn't able to steal. I'm intrigued to see how many steals he can get this year.
Well, I think too. I mean, there's a lot of continuity stuff with the Pirates that I think will help because, like, you have obviously you mentioned O'Neal, right? But you bring Kutch back again, veteran presence, obviously. But Brian Reynolds, who just, I mean, for what it was last year, had a down year. I think. I think a lot of the talk surrounding him is very overblown.
Started off slow, but he started coming on.
No, that's what I'm getting at, right? I mean, it's just like I said, I think for what he is, there's a lot of overblown talk. Like
the thing about Reynolds, he's a great player, but he's not going to lead your team. He'd be great if he could build players around.
I mean,
him.
I think he could. He reminds me a lot of, frankly, and it's kind of funny the way. I know we talked about last year, but it's funny the way it works out, right? He reminds me a lot of McCutchen in a lot of ways.
And who did we trade to?
That's what I'm getting at, right? It's just funny how it works.
Hey, we traded Adam Frazier for Sawinski, and now they're both on the same team.
Yeah, it's a little bit different for, frankly, both of them actually. But no, I mean, I just view things. I mean, I don't know if you, you hope Joey Bart continues what he was last year, right? You hope that, what you perceive to be a full year of Henry Davis and Nick Gonzalez, right? Work out, and you hope Cabrian Hayes at least returns to the Gold Glove element that he was on.
We've been hoping for him for a while. If he doesn't do anything this year and he's battling injuries again, I'm giving up on him.
And it's tough, probably not to in that sense, right? So let's move on.
Forget about IKF though.
Yeah, IKF, which I'm surprised he returned the way last year ended, but different story for a different time. NL West. I know a lot of
Rockies
people. I know.
lose?
Well, yeah, Rockies and losing. I know a lot of people view it as the Dodgers' division to lose, and quite frankly, probably right. Barring anything uber catastrophe happening. That being said, I'm really intrigued by the Giants this year. I know I've seen a lot of people actually have them behind the Diamondbacks, even, which
I don't agree.
I don't either. I think if you aren't the Dodgers in this division, I think you need to try and find some extra oomph to go and get them, all things considered still. That being said, I think the Giants probably are poised a little bit better than the other teams in that division. I really like their pitching. There's some stuff on offense that I'd like to see them improve, but I view the Giants kind of as like a sleeping kind of beast at the moment in that division.
Oh, come on. Sleeping Giant is the pun.
Yeah, I didn't want to do Sleeping Giant.
Come on.
If you could tell, I was trying to avoid it. But
Sleeping Beast.
I hate waving the white flag on a division, right? But it's just hard not to see the Dodgers kind of winning this deal, right? That being said, outside of some of the Dodgers still have some stuff. I don't know if that bullpen thing they had going last year can work this year. I don't know if you can do that back-to-back years. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. right? I think there's stuff still on offense for them that, does a guy, I don't know. I don't know how I view like the back end of that lineup fully just yet. But that being said, they've made it work now for the better part of 6 years. Like, it's kind of hard not to just kind of tip the cap at what it is and move on. The Padres left a lot to be desired this offseason. The Diamondbacks, yeah, they went out and they got Corbin Burns, but I don't. That team you get outside of like the top 3 guys in that rotation, and you can make the case maybe that full rotation. And I don't know what to expect out of the Diamondbacks either. And then the Rockies are kind of like the Marlins. This is probably your Rockies update for the year.
See, I'm high in the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
Dodgers are obviously going to win the division. I think they got a shot at breaking the Mariners record in wins just because of their pitching. They're just so deep. And they can throw 1 through 8. Throw a guy out there and give him a chance to win. And that's probably not even counting Kershaw. But the Diamondbacks, I love getting Corbin Burns. I really love getting Josh Naylor at first base. Replace Christian Walker, who I think is a better player than Christian Walker, to be honest with you. And I think Ketel Marte had a great year. He still can build off of that. I think Corbin Carroll can bounce back. They just signed up Perdomo guy at short, and I really like them. I think they could be the second best team in the National League. That's how much I like them. With that 1-2-3 punch, with Burns, Gallen, who I think is the best number 2 in the game, and
best number 1,
Merrill Kelly. Is Gallen starting opening day?
I think Burns is. I could be wrong.
Either way, great 1-2, and then Merrill Kelly 3, pretty good number 3.
Yeah,
and I like them a lot. I like the Padres. Never really liked the Padres in the playoffs, but I like the Padres. I think they could get potentially 3 playoff teams out of this division, and not so high on the Giants. Like to see how Willie Adames hits in that ballpark. But Verlander, I'm intrigued to see how Verlander pitches with the Giants. And the Rockies, you could say what you want about the Marlins, and yes, that could be the Marlins talk, but the Rockies, don't sleep on the Rockies to improve this year.
Ew.
With Brenton Doyle coming on and Ezekiel Tovar, and they already have Ryan McMahon, he's coming to his own. And with Coors Field, these guys can hit there. And I'm intrigued to see how Chase Dollander comes in and how he pitches with them for the Rockies, because it's been tough. The fact that Marquez there, Herman, the fact that he can still pitch at what he's done in his Colorado careers is unbelievable. And no, they're going to finish last, but I think they're going to improve. I think you're going to see some nice signs, like you saw with the Nationals from last year.
I don't think they break the White Sox record, but like, I disagree on the Colorado front.
I actually have. This isn't really spoiling the predictions. I still have the Rockies the second worst team in the National League, but I'm telling you, I think they can win 65 games this year.
All right,
65-70.
Let's stay in the West. We'll start with the AL West and work back. Look, I don't know how to read this division this year.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Like, we're at a point where call me crazy. I'm at a point where I'm telling you, I think it would be a wise future bet investment if you did a little bit something on the A's to win that division.
You're crazy.
And the reason why I say that is because I don't know how to read this division this year. I think the only true element might be the fact the Angels are going to finish last. But, look, Houston's. I don't know if this is like crossroads in the traditional sense, but like they've allowed a lot of that core at this point to move on.
Their little second baseman's out in left field.
Yeah, I don't know how well that's gonna go.
Well,
but
that is a field where you can play left field and you don't have to cover much ground.
For a guy that has never played outfield, though, I don't know. I don't know really. I can't tell what they're gonna fully be. Texas, obviously, you have to feel some sort of confidence with, just because they have the names on both sides, pitching and batting, that can make you feel comfortable enough to say pick them. Man, I guess we can get into this now because we're here. I was really hoping the Mariners would go out this offseason and, actually, make an attempt. And I fear that we're looking down the barrel again of a lot like last year. It's like we have this generational rotation, quite literally, and it's a bunch of 2 or 3-1 games, and you're looking down the barrel of a 500-esque season because your offense didn't turn up.
Yeah.
For a team that's window should be open, it's about as closed as it could be, it feels like. In the sense of, I don't even know if it got to be open at all.
There's a lot of ifs with that team on the hitting front, obviously. Got a decent bullpen, got a great rotation, and I'm banking on that they could figure it out this year. Banking on that Randy Rosarena can bounce back and really step up. Same with Jorge Polanco. They got some guys that, like J.P. Crawford, another one, could bounce back. When you got a guy like Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez already that have proven that they can hit in this league, I'm intrigued to see how Victor Robles plays. He came on as a nice little spark plug from last year. Other than that, got a lot of weak spots on the team, hitting-wise, and that's all right. If these guys can come up clutch when they need them, and if these other guys can step up, you could potentially build something here. And the reason I'm still not giving up on the Mariners here is because the division is kind of wide open.
Yeah. Well, that's the main thing, and that's what I mean by, might as well just put money on, the A's, where it's the A's kind of showed it last year that they're pesky enough to just mess you up. And look, fact of the matter is they did go out this offseason and improve the team. And it was exactly like how I figured once John Fisher got what he wanted and moved out of Oakland, we'd see him spend a little bit of money. It's kind of crazy given what we know about that team and its history that Luis Severino is the biggest contract in team history. But here nor there, essentially, with it. I don't think the Angels are going to be as bad as they have been, but I just view them as, to me, clearly being the worst team in that division. I will give them credit, though. I will weirdly give the Angels credit. They are doing what I feel like a lot of teams in the past 10-plus years should be doing, where it's just we got these young guys, let's just play them and see what happens. They've been doing that now the past couple of years. They're going to have this Ryan Johnson guy who never pitched in the minors last year after being drafted. He made the opening day roster. He's going to be, I think, technically the 5th guy in that rotation. You know what? Screw it. You got Nolan Schnell, for example. We've seen with Zach Neto. I will give the Angels credit. They think that these young guys are good enough. Why not just let them have the reps at the big league level, because more reps at Double A probably aren't going to do all that much anyway.
I got actually a bold prediction. Mm-hmm. The Angels will be the worst team in the American League. They are going to be worse than the White Sox, and the White Sox who play the Angels this weekend are going to prove it this weekend that they are the worst. And here's why. It's because of the pitching. I know we haven't gone to the AL Central yet, and we don't want to talk much about the White Sox anyway, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit here.
This might be your White Sox update for the year.
I think they got better pitching than the Angels. That's why they're going to both be terrible.
Yeah.
And I think that they can potentially be better than the Angels. And I think this could be the key race that people need to check on, is who's the 14th best team in the American League between the Angels and the White Sox, who I think will be the two teams racing for it. And guys like Sean Burke, even though I'm looking at my phone while I'm reading these guys' names, but guys like Sean Burke, Jonathan Gannon, Drew Thorpe is going to be the reason.
I have bad news on that front.
What's wrong with Thorpe?
Tommy John.
But guys like Sean Berg, Jonathan Gannon, and Martin Perez is gonna
Yes, noted young prospect Martin Perez.
is gonna be the reason why the White Sox will finish 14th and the Angels will finish last, because the Angels are arguably the worst franchise in this league.
Okay. League? Like both AL and NL we're talking about?
And the over-under that people should take a note of is how many games will Mike Trout play this year.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I wish he would come back a little bit, Trout.
I mean, he's playing right field this year.
And they say that's going to keep him more healthy. We'll see.
I don't know.
I mean, I'd like to see
There's
him.
more wall.
I'd like
right
to see what he
field.
kind of does. But I think this is you want to see a 4-team race, but I'm going to say 3. I'm not putting the Athletics in there yet.
It's fair. The Central, you brought it up, obviously, with the White Sox. Kind of like the NL Central for me. I think this is going to be a pretty fun division to kind of watch. Kind of funny to me that, again, Cleveland's just under the radar here, and nobody's really picking them. And it's like, I get it. You know, in the grand scheme of it, they just didn't do anything to improve. But at the same token, they didn't really get any worse either in the offseason. I think, you know, Kansas City, I think, is going to take another step this year. I would imagine Detroit takes another step this year. I think they all kind of keep each other pretty close. Once again, the Twins' biggest issue is going to be health, both for pitching and position players. You want to talk about a team that should be there with those other 3 I mentioned, it should be the Twins, and it's probably just not going to happen this year. And then the White Sox are the White Sox. But, yeah, I think this division's a little bit of a toss-up. I lean Cleveland just because of the experience, but I don't know. I have a future bet that Detroit wins the division, too, in addition to that. So,
See, here's my take on this division. It should be a 4-team race.
Mhm.
I think the Tigers take a step back this year.
Mm.
I think the Tigers still can't hit.
So a little more figuring stuff out.
They got hot last year,
True.
and that's why they went on that run.
The Motor City Kitties.
And I don't know. I think Scooble's a stud. Got a lot of question marks for the Stars. You know, like Riley Green. You know, I don't know. I think they got a great manager in AJ Hinch. But I think they take a step back because the division is competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And you like to think the Twins would figure it out, but Royce Lewis is already hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The Twins got good pitching. They don't got great pitching. They got some good pitchers, and it's deep. But I don't know if they got any, like, superstar pitchers in there. And I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be Royals or Guardians. And you like to pick the Royals because they arguably have a top 5 player on their team in Bobby Witt. But until the Guardians prove otherwise, I'm going to take Cleveland, even though that's not my pick. But I like to think the Guardians still would be the favorites here.
It's pretty interesting you said that about the Twins, but I view the pitching for the Twins to be the star of the show.
I think
You
they're
know,
good.
Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober. You look at the bullpen. You know, you still have. You know, well, what are they doing with Griffin Jacks this year?
I think Durant's still the closer.
Yeah, but like, Jacks technically was like a starter coming. I don't know, but like, yeah, I just view the Twins actually as their pitching to be like, as long as they stay healthy, I don't have any doubts about their pitching. But yeah, it's interesting how the Central kind of breaks out though there at that point where it's like probably lean Cleveland, but if you really wouldn't be surprised if anybody but the White Sox, essentially.
Yeah. AL East.
A lot of people want to put definites on this division already, and I don't know if you can necessarily do that. It's interesting the amount of people want to put dirt on each one of these teams already, thinking that they're all dead to some degree, when I think there's paths for each team in this division to get to the division title. Realistically, probably going to come down to the Yankees, Baltimore. It's weird saying this because I'm like a Yankee fan, obviously, but like I want to believe in the Red Sox, but like I don't know. They haven't given you a lot to believe in the past couple of years that they can actually get it done. You know what I mean? And the talent's there for the Red Sox. I it's kind of like the inverse of like Cleveland because they haven't shown it. Like I just don't know if I can jump into that pool yet. You know, the Rays. It's interesting to me. The race for the bottom is between the Rays and the Blue Jays. It's for different reasons though. Like the Blue Jays are just. I know you're talking about like the White Sox and the Angels, and we've talked about like the Rockies and the Marlins. The Blue Jays shouldn't be as bad as they are, but yet they are. And I don't know if
got a lot of holes.
I don't know if this is like the hot take in the sense like you had the hot take with the Angels and White Sox. But like I wouldn't be surprised if Toronto's the first managerial firing that we have on the year.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot like what we thought with the Mets, but I think it's actually going to happen with them because Toronto's just that weird franchise that it happens to with. I think this Vlad contract issue is going to rear its head during the season at some point. I want Bo Bichette to figure this deal out. I just don't know. It's a lot like, to me, what I said to you about Ian Happ. At some point, or we just have to say this is just what he is and we move on. I don't know.
Santander.
Good player. Feels like a little bit of an overpay. You know, I don't know, man. For what we had with them, kind of not so much growing up, but like tail end of like whatever. I just don't know where it all went kind of wrong for them. Essentially, you know, to me, it's between the Yankees and Baltimore, but for different reasons. Look, losing Garrett Cole is bad for the Yankees. I'm not going to deny that, but I think it's kind of crazy the amount of people who even like Yankee fans are just like, "Oh, the season's over." I'm like, I haven't even played one game yet. How the hell do you know? And that's just the way baseball is, right? But obviously it's not great. And Baltimore, man, I guess for them it's pitching too, really. Like I'm a fan of like a lot of the young guys that Baltimore has, especially, you know, sneakily on the pitching side. But man, are there some questions for them too that they're going to have to figure out as the season progresses along, I feel like.
Yeah. I am on board with the Red Sox. I love the Crochet sign.
I want to
trade.
I want to be on that trade. I don't know, man.
Signing Bregman.
Yeah.
They got a great manager.
Eh.
I really like him, Cora.
That's just because Joey Cora's a Pirate guy, his brother.
Not anymore. And
Former.
Forget him. He sucked at third base.
The disrespect.
But Alex Cora's a good manager, and I like what they've built there. I love I'm a big prospect guy, and I love that they have 3 studs coming up, and I think that can help with their offense. And their pitching, I mean, Crochet could be a number 1. They're pitching, you know, with Houck, and, you know, Bello, and Crawford, and Walker Buehler now. I mean, they're good pitchers. I mean, there still needs some work, but I see some holes in the other teams, and I think they can win the division. And
I mean, yeah.
But here's what I gotta say. I think the Baltimore Orioles are going to be the biggest disappointment this year.
You know, okay, so I think I'm with you on that front.
That pitching, man.
It
puts a lot of pressure on those young hitters.
I'm a big fan of like the youth they got. I've seen a lot of them actually in person. It's a lot. To me, it's a lot like the Mariners in the sense of like you knew what you had to do. Just go and get like 1 or 2 pieces. That's all you had to do, and they didn't do it. And I think they're a little bit better off than like what Seattle is admittedly, but like I think for what we view them as, I'm with you. I don't know if nationally that's the case, but like for what I think me and you have been thinking with this season, like I think that is true. Not a knock on the guy because he's resurrected his career really well, but like Zach Eflin's your number 1, huh?
I know. I see that. I see the matchups tomorrow.
And look, like I said, like I want to give credit to Zach Eflin. He turned his career around from what it was. He's done a great job the past 2 years finding his niche and playing it well, but
They didn't replace Burns
No.
and Santander.
no.
They didn't.
And
You got 2 holes.
I think it's easier on the offensive side, just given the fact of what they have on that side, to just kind of maybe do that.
And it's interesting what Adley does. He was so terrible that second half.
Yeah. You can make the case, frankly, all year last year, because I had him. This is going to be the first now year in 2 years, and for fantasy, I haven't had him.
And Connor Henderson's battling injury to start. And Jackson Holiday, what is he?
And look, we talked about with other guys, but like some of these other prospects are actually kind of pissed off that they aren't getting their chances either. I mean, Mayo came out and said explicitly, like, he wasn't bashing AAA, he wasn't bashing Norfolk, but like he does have a point. Like, at what point for him is it just like, do something with me that's not this? Like,
If they're under 500 by the halfway point of the season, I wouldn't be surprised he gets fired too.
Well, I've had a lot of questions
Hyde.
about Hyde, whether because remember when they hired him a few years ago, how they were doing like that weird hybrid-y type, like he's going to be the manager, but it's more for offense, but he'll have the decision-making capability. But like their pitching coach at the time was like a co-ish, like,
Yeah.
I was like, how's that going to actually work? Like,
But let's talk about your Yankees real quick,
Yeah.
since we're kind of running out of time here.
yeah.
Let's talk about your Yankees.
Mm.
How you feeling? In
Like
the Soto-less era?
Like I said, I think I feel better than the average fan in that sense. The main hinge point on this is the Garrett Cole thing, right? Like not even a game's been played yet. Like, you don't know how this is going to go.
Yep.
And I guess that's the preface with everything here. We could be talking about how freaking awful the Marlins are, and next thing you know, Alcantara and Perez look like they did 2 years ago before they got hurt, and all of a sudden they just find the hot streak at the right time, and it's like they're in the playoffs, right?
And Skip Schumacher's manager here again.
Even though he's not there. I do think they win the division. I think it's a lot of overreacting on certain stuff. That being said, a lot of the same holes are there from last year. I get what they're trying to do with Goldschmidt at first base, more or less, and probably groom Ben Rice for that position, just with a veteran presence over there at this point.
Love the Bellinger.
There's a big hole at third base, obviously. There's a big hole, whether people want to admit it or not, in the outfield. And I'm not even talking so much on the Soto side of things, necessarily. I'm just talking about, like, you gotta hope that Dominguez plays out the way that you think he does.
He's finally on the team.
With the bat.
He's finally, 24/7 on the team.
With the bat, and you can kind of overlook his defense. Right? Because if that's not the case, then it's like, why the hell didn't you just bring back Verdugo to some degree? Or something like that, right? So
he got nothing either.
I think he's with the Braves on like a minors deal, so it's kind of crazy, but
waited too long.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of overreacting on stuff that hasn't happened yet. Maybe part of it's justified. I don't know, but the fact that people think this team could be on par with what like that 2014 team was is like, they'll be fine.
All right. I like Bellinger.
I think that's the ability to be the best signing of the offseason. Well, I guess in this case trade, but we'll see. It'll be interesting. I like it more for the defensive element than the offensive element, but
we'll see how Goldschmidt does.
Yeah.
I personally think he's over the hill.
Yeah. I think it's not a knock on him because a lot of it had to do with the fact that he just, to me, never just actually fully recovered from that concussion. Just feel like you're kind of upgrading what Rizzo was to just a slightly fresher model.
Rizzo not playing this year?
No. I know he's available, but he just has not been same after that concussion, man. Yeah. And it sucks. It sucks, but it is what it is.
Yep.
So, all right, prediction time. What do you got over there?
Red Sox,
okay.
Royals, Mariners are the divisions.
Okay.
Yankees, Blue Jays, Astros.
Okay.
Guardians just miss.
Mm.
I got just one team in the Central.
Okay. You want me to do my AL first and then we go down?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going Yankees. I'm going Guardians. I'm going to go Rangers, but I'm not thrilled about it. And then for the wild cards, I'm going to go Red Sox. I'm going to go Tigers.
A's.
I'm not going to go A's. I'm going to go Kansas City. It's weird because I think the Central and West are both going to kind of cannibalize themselves to the point that maybe it's not feasible that the Central gets 3 teams in. But I just feel, for what I have presented from me, I feel more confident in taking 2 other teams out of the Central than I do 2 other teams out of the West. In that sense. So that's what I'm going with. The East is just, I think they get 2 teams, and I'm with you on the Baltimore front.
So you have them out.
It kind of it sucks.
You
but
said Red Sox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks, but something's got to give over there, man.
You saw Zach Eflin starting tomorrow. That's what scared you.
Yeah. So the Zeppelin. All right, NL.
Phillies.
Interesting. Okay.
Pirates, of course.
you can't give up. I respect it.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks, Padres, Braves are my 3 wild cards.
Wow. Okay.
Cubs just miss.
Interesting. So I'm gonna go Mets for the division. I think the consistency over there is just gonna be.
Oh wow!
I think the consistency is just gonna be a little bit better over there. I think the East matter to me is gonna be who can just figure it out at the right time. Central, I'm gonna go with the Reds. I'll take what's now become, I think, the quiet favorite of sorts. And then Dodgers, obviously, in the West. Wild card wise, I'm gonna go Nationals. I think people are gonna be. I think they're the surprise
Number
team.
1 or no? Not
No, I don't think number 1. But I'm just going from like map wise here. I think they're gonna be the surprise team, kind of in that side of things. So I'm gonna go with them. I think that's the only 2 teams out of the East. I legitimately do.
Nationals.
Think
Phillies and Braves are out.
I legitimately believe people are sleeping on DC.
Phillies and Braves gone?
Yep.
Wow, you crook.
I know. Call me crazy. Look at me. I'm insane. I'm going to go Brewers, and then I think each division gets 1. I'm going to go with the Giants in the West as well as the other wild card.
Diamondbacks and Padres are out as well?
Hit the bricks.
Oh, my goodness. You just knocked out the Phillies, Braves, Diamondbacks, and Padres. Yep. They're all gone.
Call me crazy.
And then let's not even mention you didn't even have the Cubs.
Nope.
Which I'm not high on either, but.
I mean, what's the point then?
Man.
Yeah. So what's your World Series then?
I got a crazy one.
Okay.
Dodgers over Blue Jays. Blue Jays make a run.
That's insane to me anyway.
Yeah, because I had Yankees, Blue Jays, Astros, the wild cards. Mm-hmm. I had them all. I had the Blue Jays upsetting the Yankees, and then I have them upsetting the number 1 seeded Red Sox, and then I got them beating the Mariners in the ALCS, but the Dodgers over Blue Jays in 4 games.
Okay.
And MVP, Mookie Betts.
Because baseball's stupid. You're not gonna like this. America's not gonna like this.
I'm ready.
I'm gonna go Boston and San Francisco in the World Series. I think the 2 wild cards go at it.
So you are kind of crazy with an upset, so 2 wild card teams.
Yep.
Interesting.
I'm gonna go with the Red Sox in 7.
So you're okay. So you kind of are on high in the Red Sox then. If you got them win the World Series,
I think. Look, for them, I think my main concern with them is, and we're on 2 clearly different paths on this. I'm not high on Cora. He does a lot of. To be fair, he reminds me a lot of like Dave Roberts in this sense. So maybe I'm talking.
Now here's the thing.
So maybe I'm talking both sides of my mouth right here. But like, you want to talk about a guy who like makes a lot of questionable moves and it pays off sometimes. It's Cora. That's Cora to a T.
The thing about our picks, the AL pennant picks, might not even be the same manager that starts the season, but they're going to somehow
That's actually, for what we.
they're going to somehow win the pennant.
Yeah.
Oh, and my individual awards, MVP, Bobby Witt and Paul Skeens. Yeah, I'm going Paul Skeens MVP. Wow. Cy Young, Logan Gilbert and Paul Skeens, obviously. Rookie of the Year, Marcelo Meyer and Bubba Chandler. Very biased with these picks.
Well, so I didn't have Rookie of the Year this year only because, like, I don't want to discount it, but, like, we talked about it. I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, so my thing with Rookie of the Year is, like, I just view it as, like, you have to be up the whole year to be, like, a Rookie of the Year type thing. And, like, I don't know. I just, like, so, like, to me, it's, like, I don't even know who technically might be up in a month of just, And
Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
If the Pirates get to the playoffs, obviously that loser is going to win Coach of the Year. So Derek Shelton and going Dan Wilson. Very biased with these picks, but So let's hear your individual picks real quick.
So
MVP.
I'm going to start with my managers of the year because
work your way up.
So I think Francona for the Reds will get it.
Obviously, if they win the division,
which that'd be an interesting one. We have to check at that point who's won it for both NL and AL at that point. Trying to think of who could else have done that.
Bruce Bochy.
Oh yeah, So actually, recently then, Leland.
Did he win Manager of the Year?
Leland might have been too, right?
Yeah, it could have been.
Either way.
Anyway,
so I'm going Francona for NL Manager of the Year. For the AL Manager of the Year, I guess I'm gonna have to go Cora, but if I'm going that route, so
or Leland, he takes over
for who? Detroit? Because he's
Red Sox
with Detroit. MVP is an interesting one because I think, unfortunately, baseball now falls into the other sports where it's like we're just going to shoehorn no matter what some superstars in here, which sucks. But I think Jose Ramirez gets his due finally in the AL. I think that happens. The NL is an interesting one to me this year. I'm gonna go Francisco Lindor.
We just don't want to go Shohei, even though it's probably
right.
Gonna be.
Well, I think there's an element of fatigue too, which I think comes into play this year, where and this is what I mean by it. It's a lot like other sports, right? Where it's like, how often do you want, like we see right now in the NBA, like how often do we want to talk about Jokic still? Like I do because I just love him, but like I think that's the way people feel with like Judge and Ohtani at this point, essentially. So that's my thoughts on
Cy Young.
Cy Young, I think, is going to be some left field type candidates this year. Just the vibe I'm getting. I actually think that we will see a reliever get it across the finish line this year. I think Class A gets it because you had the case for him this past year. I think he continues. So I'm going Class A.
Regular season Class A.
Good point. And then in the NL, not spring training or regular season, David Bednar. I think as long as he gets out of the gates, good. And I know I'm caveating this pick.
Bailey Falter will win Cy Young.
No, I'm in lockstep with you. I think Skeens goes back to back.
He didn't get it last year. Rookie of the Year.
Oh, that's right. My bad with that. Yeah. Shows how much I thought who should have been then. But my main concern with him, I know you're high on it, and I know you don't want to hear it. I just worry, especially we see it more on the pitching side of it, that you get more tape on these young guys, sophomore years, things can kind of pop up. I don't know if averaging 98 miles per hour is going to save him necessarily, but he might be the first, so who knows. But
so you don't want to pick rookie?
Only because, you never know what can kind of just happen.
But you want my lock for tomorrow?
Can I give you one guy, though, in the AL to keep an eye on rookie-wise? And I know some people will hate me. I think you might hate me a little bit. The Astros have this kid, Cam Smith, drafted last year by the Cubs. He was part of that Tucker deal. He's making the opening day roster.
Interesting.
Don't know how great it's going to go for him, but if, he's part of this Astros kind of, like I say, transition of eras of sorts going on right now. Keep an eye on him. I'd be really intrigued to see if he comes out the opening week, right, and he's not drowning out there. I think it might bode well.
That was cool to see. Being a lot of pressure coming right up, skipping the minors, basically.
Yeah, he did he did play in the minors this past summer after getting drafted, unlike Ryan Johnson for Anaheim. So,
but my lock tomorrow is Chicago White Sox money line against the Angels tomorrow. Lock it in.
You're crazy.
I'm telling you, that's the best race in baseball. Is the race for 14th.
I'd say bet a lot of unders tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Just because it's going to be colder-ish, still on the northern side of things. Just, ball doesn't tend to usually fly.
Good bod, man.
Yeah, it was good stuff. We went a little bit long, but that's all right. Speaking of all right, Nick, who are you shouting out today?
I'm going to shout out a friend of the pod, Josh Langley. It's his birthday on Monday.
Oh, 29th.
Yeah, 29. Hasn't been on the podcast in a few, half decade, but
he works during the days anyway. For him, he can't get, especially his job, he can't be free.
But he's still a fan of the podcast. And, shout out Josh. Happy birthday.
Shout out to Jay Ajayi.
Yeah, you got to.
So that will do it. We'll be, actually next Wednesday we're good. Yeah, okay. There's a Wednesday coming up we might have to switch, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. Yeah. Oh, by the way, actually, no, we'll save it for next week because we both actually have upcoming travel plans that we can kind of throw in. But we'll do that next week because there's no sense in actually talking about it this week. So, travel season's here for Fresh Takes, by the way. So, looking forward to that. All right. Appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in. Long one, but always a good one for us. We enjoy it. Self-indulgence. So, enjoy opening day tomorrow, everybody. Enjoy March Madness this weekend. Like, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff. We'll be back at it again next Wednesday. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.